I know that he has some.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Len Thompson. I am CA's Mainframe Community Manager. We are joined today by several members from the Development Environment for Z Systems team. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions along the way, please use the Q&A box in the WebEx itself. You should see a Q&A box in the lower right hand of your screen. If you don't see that, there's a question mark icon in the upper right that you can click on, and that will open it up for you. I know many of you are just on the audio broadcast and not on the telephone, so that's the best way to ask your questions and make sure we get answers to them. So with that, Marvin, are you going to kick us off?
Absolutely, and just to check, Len, is the deck up on the WebEx? I'm not seeing it, but maybe it's just could just be me.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and get us started. I'm gonna re-upload it because it's
never mind. Maybe I think I'm just on the wrong tab. Gosh. Well, I can go ahead and kick us off, folks. Sorry for the technical hiccup there. My name is Marvin Mao, and I support marketing for CA's DevOps or Mainframe solution. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webcast. It's all Eclipse, the CA Endevor perspective, which is part 4 of our ongoing Tech Talk series on CA development environment for Z Systems, our modern IDE product designed to help new and seasoned developers build and maintain cross-enterprise applications mobile to mainframe. It is my pleasure to have with us today Dehan and Milan from our team to help us explore this particular aspect of CA development environment for Z Systems. But just quickly, before we get started, let me just do a quick level set on our journey up until this point. Alrighty, here we go. And just to let you guys know, this is part 4 of our Tech Talk series. We've been running this since April, earlier this year, and if you are joining us for the first time, I would highly recommend that you take a quick moment after our webcast today to go and take a look back at some of our previous sessions in this series. There's really a lot of great information to be shared there. Just briefly, from the start, number 1, you can get a webcast number 1, you can get a quick overview of CA development environment for Z Systems, in particular, the process for installation. Number 2, we covered sort of just this very simple but important question of how to change an application within this particular environment. Number 3, we actually did an interesting deep dive into databases and how to work that particular aspect within this particular UI. And then today we're covering Endevor. Bringing this all together then, before we just really kind of dive deep here, again, it's this topic, right, that you've probably heard a lot about, bringing agile development and bringing DevOps or maybe even, dev security ops onto the mainframe. And it's a pretty complex and multifaceted concept, but what's really kind of important for our talk today is this bullet point here at the very top: developer tools that deliver insight on legacy code and facilitate collaboration across silos. And that's, I think, what I feel you should try to keep in mind as we progress through our presentation today, as well as the other sessions, and thinking about how the content, how our discussion here can really help you and your organization really get a better understanding of just where you stand with your mainframe code and how you can better leverage that value you have from that code and from that data across the entire enterprise, not just within your mainframe business unit. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it along to Dehan Milan to go over the specifics of our presentation today. Guys, are you on the WebEx? I'm going to push us over to the next slide if you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Marvin. Okay, so very briefly, I will just reminder that what is CA in development environment for Z systems. So it's modern integrated, basically it's modern IDE for maintaining, supporting, and developing of mainframe applications. It runs on the top of the IDZ, IBM IDZ, was also formerly known as IBM RDZ, so Rational Development Environment for Z systems. That means that you don't have to have the IDZ license to be able to run the DEZ CA development environment. And it's a development environment for the software engineers, for the developers who are working with your mainframe applications. Very shortly, with DEZ, you can use the ability of the modern tool to connect to the mainframe, to your ZOS systems. You can manipulate and maintain your data sets, your resources on the mainframe. You can compile, you can edit, debug the stuff, and also you can work with the databases, even to create the DB2 statements and so on and so on. DEZ is also allowing you to work with the BMF and MFF snaps. There is a built-in CICS and IMS Explorer, so you can basically interact with your CICS and IMS runtime to see what transactions are active, do the new copies, and all this stuff. As you can see in this model slide, DEZ consists from several views where you can access to your local file, to your mainframe files. You can see the rich full editor, and that's and also access to your job and basically look what's going on in your JAS system. That everything was already described in previous sessions, so if you would like to get more information about that, as Marvin mentioned in the beginning, feel free to look for the previous webinars. What's basically new, or what is DEZ C development environment for Z systems innovative is that it's providing you with R testing tools and Endevor Eclipse plugins. We have full integration with our Endevor Eclipse plugin or with our Intertest, FileMaster, SimDump, and also Mainframe Application Tuner. These are the tools who maybe you are aware already of them, maybe you have them, maybe not, but more or less they are helping your developers to improve their performance and have better developer experience when working with the mainframe tools. And today, as Marvin mentioned in the beginning, we are going to focus on the Endevor Eclipse plugin, where my colleague Milan Janošik will show you the demo how you can use, how you can work with the Endevor from modern developer point of the view using the Endevor Eclipse UI. Milan, show is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I just got someone to make me a presenter. And cool. Okay. There. So today we're going to cover the Eclipse plugin for Endevor, Endevor CM. So this is our latest iteration. I mean, there was ongoing development, and currently this is the 18th version of the plugin. So we'll just run through a few of the scenarios, how you can start using it, and what functions and what features are available for you and for your developers to start using. Right now, I have already installed the Eclipse plugin into the regular Eclipse runtime environment. However, if you have the DAS, this plugin can be installed as part of the installation process, and it will look very similar. I just switched to the DAS. So this is the same plugin running in the both environments. Well, I will just switch to one to another just to demonstrate certain features. However, if you just want to start, generally you can install, or I just put it this way, if you do not have set up your web services or support for actually connecting to the mainframe side from a client, first you need to do certain installation steps. Everything is documented, and generally you want to end it up with something similar to this. So this is actually an update site running from one of our web services instances, or usually Tonkin instances. And as you can see, I am relisting the RESTful API, listing some of the so-called configuration files, which are pointing to the specific Endevor instances through the started task. So I'm not really going into too much detail, but there's a little bit of setup that needs to be done. However, once you're done, then you and your developers can connect to the specific Endevor instances and start using them. So to install the plugin, just very quickly, you can follow a part of install new software. You will add in a repository for, or actually, you can just really use the location I've showed you. And if you provide it, you will be just listed with the options to install the plugin. I didn't really follow, but it's very simple. Clicking finish, and you just click view agreements. And after restarting of your Eclipse, you can start using the Endevor Eclipse plugin. Okay, so just at the beginning, right now I already have made a connection to one of our Endevor instances. However, I'll just lead you through the process of defining the connection. What you can see right now, if you're starting, there is a specific Endevor perspective. And from Eclipse terminology, it just means that we have certain sets of views, which are these various windows here. And those views are collected in so-called perspective. So if you choose the Endevor perspective, all these views will be presented to you, and you can start, or you can just really simply start switching through those if you're interested in particular information that are displaying. We'll start the repository view because first we want to connect to our Endevor instance. Right here, I'll just go for creating a new Endevor repository connection. Let's call it a demo one repository. This is just a name for me, or really just how I want to name my instance, Endevor instance. Second, I just use my web service connection. So you just provide a protocol, your host, ports, and you provide your mainframe credentials. There. Clicking next will get you to the configuration selections. As I mentioned, when you configure web services, there are certain configurations which point you to specific Endevors. Right here, I have few defined. You can provide more details for your users. So right now, we're just running in demo mode. So just choose one, and I can finish, which create my connection, or I can just progress further and I get to the filtering options. If I'm not really interested in listing all of the packages related to that Endevor instance, I can just provide a filtering, not really list everything. But in our case, there are not too many packages in those instances. So just list, as you can see in our Endevor SCM log view, we have a few messages that show that we have connected to Endevor. We listed some other information related to the environment system and the subsystems, and we also list the packages. So all of those informations would be available. So as you can see, now I choose my demo one repository instance. It's fairly simple, just a system, subsystem, and two environments. And when I switch to the package view, I see all the package instances that are related to this particular Endevor instance. Just to show you, a more complex scenario, when I switch to our other demo system, then we have a few more systems, and logic is really listing systems, subsystems, and finally we get to the specific environments and stages. So this way you can start navigate through your environments, system, subsystem, and try to locate your elements. Right now we have only option, or actually right now we are really in a position that we want to start locating our elements if we're not sure to which system or subsystem they really fit. Or we can just start really, if you know where we need to go or what we need to work with, we can just really navigate and start, start defining so-called project, which is a way of telling that we would be working with, or actually we're mapping specific Endevor location to our project. So this way it's very similar like in Quick Edit when you are somewhere in development stage 1 cycle and you just select an enter stage where you will be working and where is a beginning over your Endevor map. So in our cases, I just selected the simple one just for sake of clarity. So this is really my dev stage 1 sort of. So I define my project, and I can just name it Demo 1 project. Right here, I can define and comments and CCID, which will be so-called like global for my project. And I can do a filtering if there is need, or if I know that, for example, I will specifically work in assembly programs, or I'm looking for specific element and name patterns, I could just use those in this dialog. So this way, I can limit amount of data that being pulled from Endevor, and it has a little bit of effect on the performance. I define my project, and things get populated, but I've returned back to my repository just to show we one additional feature. For example, if you just know or looking for your location, so you are not really sure where your element is, you can use an option to actually just list all the elements without defining the project. So this way, I have search repository, and right here, I can just select what I'm interested in, and then just go for a list. So this way, without even defining a project, you can search through your repository locations, and then when data is being returned back, you will have an element be populated with the metadata from the Endevor. So this is very similar to Quick Edit in a sense that all the data are listed in a tabular form. Data listed are with, or it's listed using maps, so essentially you will see all the elements within the map. Compared to Quick Edit, we can provide much more metadata, and you can even customize, what would you like to have in your table. So even, select few of those metadata out, so actually the table is not excessively long. However, the neat feature is you can customize these fields. So actually, if you, for example, want to change the order or just enable, disable certain fields, these options available for you, and this way you can just customize your element view even throughout the sessions as we do persist the state of these views. You can take advantage of the filtering options. So if you can quickly want to locate certain elements, this way just typing in the list gets filtered, so you can very quickly navigate your elements by name, element type, or sign out. There are a few other options which can be also set and customized, but right now we just do this filtering based on these conditions. So this way, even without defining the project, you can just search through your repository. You can check various statuses of your elements, and essentially you have few options to browse and view the elements. So this feature really just gives you a way how to browse and actually navigate certain element before you start and define your project. Just a few of these status fields. We use some decorations or some icons just to quickly gives you a hint what is the state of the certain elements without going through all the metadata. So in the status one, we generally give you an icons which are related to the return codes. So this way there are warnings or error messages you can quickly notice and even sort. Status of sign in, sign out also very quickly can give you an information where you stand and if you need to go through sign in, sign out process. The last one is the package relation. So this way, if the element is related to a specific package or if it is being logged, then technically this is also displayed, and in this manner you can very quickly navigate and understand the status of at least a certain metadata about your elements. Even element names, we have plain or those with this asterisk or a star, which is visually describing these elements as components. So this way you can even very quickly tell elements which has or which does not have the elements. So just a few things to give you a little more clarity when you're looking at your repository status. And this is one of those things you can just, if nothing else, you can really just start browsing your repository and identifying which elements would be interesting for your further action. Okay, so there was the option with the repository view. And generally speaking, this is really just a holistic overview of your specific repository. So usually where you start there, but then it's very likely you just get to the project view, because this is essentially what majority of the work will be done if you are a developer. So it means I have mapped this project to my Endevor location, and we had listed the content of remote Endevor location. So it means we not physically retrieve and download all these elements to the local file system. Rather, we just display the state of our remote Endevor environment/stage, and this is what we get. As you can notice, we use various decorations right here. Those decorations are really just those small icons or the elements, and those have a specific reason to have it there. So first of all, as you can see, there is a sort of like small guy. This is a sign in, sign out status. And additionally, on the bottom right side, we have an icon which is represented. These elements are being so-called like versioned. So we do track their status on the local file system compared to what is in Endevor. All right. Very often when you start a project, this is not the case you will be looking at. It means like you just map your rather sandbox or a subsystem which might have or might not have not an elements in it. So if you are in a second condition that actually this is a like empty project and you need to still pull something from higher in the map or actually retrieve it to your project, there are ways to do that. So in essence, we have two options. We have the element view and we have the search map view. Both of those are displaying more or less the same information. However, the element view is more is definitely providing more information on those elements. So let's just quickly look through the search map view. It is just tree view, which is displaying the same information just like in element view, but in tree format. So this way we are getting, information displayed in a more structured way, which can be helpful, but it really depends on the user, what they're going to choose. Okay, so if I choose to start working with a specific element, I'll just locate it somewhere, higher in the map, if it's somewhere higher in the map. Let's say I'll just go with this element. And I have options to do various things depending, of what I'm going to do. But right now I'm mostly interested in add to project, which is a way of retrieving the element to my project. We used to use a transfer action, but this was not a really good way. And one of the requirements, or one of the problems that our customers had with it was that they just do not really, or they cannot use the transfer action. So then we made a change, and we just did the retrieve like in regular Endevor setup. And right now we're retrieving elements from Endevor to the local file system. As you can notice, the retrieve was performed, and part of the processing I was asked if I want to add the instance back to Endevor. So it means like it's very similar like in quick edit. So we copy back into that enter stage of our selected system, and right here we try to, or we're giving the options to replicate this feature. So we retrieve it locally to our Eclipse instance. However, you have an option to add it immediately back to Endevor into that map location. So there will be an instance in Endevor in local file system, and at that moment they will be in sync. I choose to do that, so I'll just have an explicit add of that element. So I go for add. And at the moment, there will be an instance of that element in my local project as well as in Endevor. Of course, you can choose just to have a local instance. So this way, you will have only retrieved element which is existing in your Eclipse instance, and later on, the file will be physically in your workspace, and you can do edits, changes to that element, whatever actions you want to perform, which can be very useful, especially in a dev environment where you have options to actually take advantage of building editors for cobbles and assembler. And this way you just have an additional value of using those elements. So let's say I just, open this guy, and you can see there is an editor which gives you highlighting and provide additional features in a DAS. Of course, in Eclipse, very often you will have just a text editor, or you can just use editors which are on the market or third-party plugins, rather, proprietary or free, and you can just take advantage of that assembler, highlighting. And this is really just to demonstrate the process. So as I said, we retrieve the element to our project, and as you can see, there is an instance of this element in my project. If you notice, there is a small green check next to our sync decorator, which is telling me that at the moment of this operation, this element was in sync with the element in the Endevor. So this is one of the way how we're getting to the more modern way of processing the elements. So it means like if, for example, someone made a change on remote system in core Endevor, when I try to promote or add my change, we will do a sync check, and we will notify you that there is a conflict and a problem which has to be resolved prior to adding the element back to Endevor. So at least right now, the base logic of recognizing the out-of-sync conditions or, conflict conditions is in place, and we will continue building on this technology just to provide more user-friendly interface to actually do the concurrent merging and adding back to Endevor. Okay, so right now I have opened this this element in my editor, and again, it's a very simple one, and I just demonstrate a fairly trivial thing of making change to this element. As you can notice, there is a so-called dirty decorator telling me that recent had locally changed. However, if I just do the save, as you can see, our logic is checked that there was a change made to this element, to this local instance of this element. So this plus sign essentially is telling you, okay, you have changed your local file, and right now we are very likely, or this change needs to be added back to our Endevor instance, to the repository, so actually those changes are existing back in Endevor. Originally, we used to have an implicit add, which was very similar to what is in the quick edit. However, there were certain issues with it, so we changed it to the explicit add action, meaning that you can make as many changes to your elements as you wish locally. They are not added back to Endevor. However, if you want to put your element back to Endevor, you just go with explicit add element action, and right here you can provide all the information needed to actually conduct or perform the add action. This is very similar with your custom with the regular quick edit or Endevor. So all these options, like generate after the add or override sign out, override CCID in comments, and a few others. For example, one of the problems we used to have was that when there was a defined record length for that element, if you were doing the editing of the white spaces, usually cause an error when you're trying to add. So we provided options to actually tell you that these trailing white spaces are passing the record length mark. And we can give you even small options to the truncations if you choose to use it. So for example, you can trunc it always, so you don't really care, which is probably not really safe as options, but there is an option. Only white spaces will check if those white spaces, or if those extra characters are only white spaces, if you say, okay, so we only cut those and we add the element. Or never, so essentially the user responsibility to take care of those trailing extra characters. So this way, you can just ensure that the actions can be performed successfully. Okay, so we'll just execute the add element action, and now we're adding element back to Endevor, and Endevor processing will take over. Just like in a regular Endevor. So you can always review and check the Endevor SCM log for the status of execution of those actions. Just very quickly, for example, I just try to go further up, save, and as you can see, even using the regular text editor, you provide logic which will at least give you a warning. Look, you passed your record length for the defined type, so you need to deal with that, because otherwise the element will fail. All right, so our add action was successful, and as you can see right now we have new instance is in sync with the core Endevor. And we have next change level or version level added there. All right. I mean, this will be probably a majority, or this is very likely the most frequent scenario the user will conduct. Just retrieve, make changes, add back, generate. So, for example, generate actions or sign in, sign out, the move actions. All those basic actions are available. Various browsers similar to Endevor are available, so this way you can get even meta information related to those elements. So all these options are available for your project. Generally, a lot of the customers at this moment start with the package processing, where it gets to actually promoting the changes to the next stages. So as part of the development, we were extending the options for package processing. And we ended up with current definitions, or current package processing in Eclipse. Essentially, there are two ways. You can create a package, or you can use existing package, which is in added status. So I'll just follow the first route, and I'll try to define a package for promoting our edited element to the next stage. It's slightly different, but not so much from standard Endevor processing. So in the package view, in the toolbar, I have options to create a package. Right there, you are provided with dialog, which has similar fields to your package define screen or panel in Core Endevor. And again, you can just start, defining your package. I'll just sort of quickly check the repository right here. All right. I quickly check these. There are small neat features, like if the package you are trying to define already exists, or a few other small validations are in place, then they're delivering validation. So this way you can ensure prior to the executing certain actions that there is a little bit of validation that happened. All right, so I'll just go with, let's call it a test package 2. Not very creative, but it should work. Let's make it a standard package. Essentially we don't need to change anything. And you have options. Actually, these options first two are probably well known. First is just a copy from a package ID, so you can select an available package, or you can just choose a dataset name. Or essentially, if you, for example, have a template for a package locally at your machine, then you can choose a local file. Or you can sort of like create a package without an SCL, which essentially create a package with some commented meta information, but it will be just like a placeholder, and you will have an option to add or edit this SCL file later on. So we just choose the option. We go for finish, and right now we have initiated a define package action. So package has been created, and this package, as you can see right here at the bottom, has been defined and created. Just to give you a little bit of overview of how we're going to deal with it, similar to our files, you notice there's a small plus sign at the status column, which is essentially telling you there is an SCL file related to this package. And when I right-click on a package, I have a few options how to deal, or actually I can just initiate certain actions against this package. So let's say I'll just browse the SCL. If I choose to do so, I have options to browse a local one or remote one. Local one is the one sitting on my machine. Remote one is the one in the Endevor. So this way, even when you make local changes, you can still check or override them with the ones in Endevor. So this way, the process is similar like with elements. You can change your SCL, and when you're done, you will update it in remote Endevor. So just to browse the local one, as you can see, this is our template. So it just says the package name, who has created it, and the creation date. The workflow, as it was designed, is as follows. When I click my package, which is in edit state, I could just assign this to project, meaning that, as you can see right now, I have correlated this package with my project, and this gives me an option to package. And right now, we have defined a move actions to generate the SEL. So if I just select for the option, it will bring up the dialog similar to regular move action. And this way, I can define the options that actually I want to just be included in my generated SEL. So delete from is okay. Don't surprise synchronize, move without history. And essentially, I can just leave it as it is. And I can rather append or override, so I just go with override. We can take away the content, and yeah, let's browse a local one. So as you can see, there is my generated SEL for this element. So right now, I have my SEL for this package ready, and if I want to push it to Endevor, there's update remote package SEL option. Doing that, you are being asked if you want to go with the validating the SEL. So let's do the yes, and right now we just providing the actions. If you notice in a package view, if we run certain actions, we just provide a little visual notification that the processes are running. So this way, you can at least see that certain package actions are still in progress. So right here, the local instance was delete. I can browse a remote package SEL, and you will notice that the SEL has been updated. So right now, in the next lifecycle or package lifecycle, we will go with the package cost. So all these actions are available here. You can override certain setups if you wish to. I just go with the basic one. Again, as you can see right now, the little bit of breathing effect is telling you that there is ongoing package cost action. It was successful. Again, you can notice that change the status package status has been changed. I mean, right now we don't really have too many packages available here. However, in certain cases, it might be quite a bit less. So as I mentioned, one of the options is to limit amount of packages when we're defining the project, or we can update this option. And there is a secondary filter available right here. So if you just, quick access filters and options, you can just really list it based on name, or you can really just choose based on certain statuses, package types, promotion types, and so on and so on. So this way, if you even need to do a package processing in terms of like, costing packages, execution and so on, there's a way how to quickly filter on some of those statuses, and this kind of gives you an general overview of your of the status of your packages. Okay, so I'll just remove approve and just go with the task. So it navigates our package. So right now it's in approval, and I can technically trigger and approve it or deny it. So let's go with approve. And once done, the package will be ready for execution. Again, it might be very likely that in certain shops, the developer type of role will only get to the costing, I guess. and all the other things will be then driven by different processes. I mean, in these regards, we're just going for the Endevor API. So a lot of security-specific definitions which are relevant to Endevor actually are not overridden by this UI or the plugin, because we're just really going through the Endevor API, and everything is handled in there. So that would be a lifecycle, really, or the use case of regular developer role in this sense. There are additional small features, as I mentioned, for example, summary of levels, displaying of the components. You can add or create a new element, which really gives you, again, options, for example, edit from USS, local file system, data sets, naming those elements, choosing a type, and this way you can even choose local copies of certain elements, or just start creating new elements from local file system, and so on. So let's just create this element right here just to quickly demonstrate I forgot the name. All right, I mean, essentially I cover most of the major features. I mean, there is available documentation, online documentation for the plugin. So actions and certain workflows are described in the documentation. I didn't really cover everything in detail, but I gave you a general idea how these things would work. If you're having the DAS, then plus to what I have shown, you have an extra feature with the embedded editors. And there are certain things that actually are in the backlogs. So yeah, this is definitely not a final state of the product. Okay, so I guess that would conclude my demo, and we can, if I'm not mistaken, open a session for question and answers.
Sounds good. Thank you so very much, Milan. That was really well done. We did receive one question over the course of the demo, and folks, if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to submit them in the Q&A box. That you can access that with the button in the top right-hand corner. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and read these out for the benefit of everyone on the call. So the question was, when you specify repositories, are those Endevor repositories on the same LPAR, or are you looking across LPARs at different repositories? In other words, does a single Eclipse interface allow me to see multiple LPAR repositories?
It really is about I tried to describe how it is actually set up on the server side. As I mentioned, there are so-called configuration files, and those configuration files are pointing to the started tasks. And in those started tasks, you're actually pointing to the specific Endevor instances. So if in your setup, you can just do the setup that actually those started tasks will be pointing to the different Endevors, then essentially yes. However, yeah, there might be certain issues or additional setups to actually let them work.
Fantastic. Okay, one other question. How do I see a listing for an element?
Listing for the element, as already stopped sharing, but there is an option if you have elements with components. Let's observe if you're going to find some. So let's say, I'm not sure if this was built but there is a listing options, and try to run it if we're going to get a listing.
And actually, while you're running that, I'll go ahead and it looks like there's a follow-up as well, or a similar question. How do I change the format and order of the elements shown, for example, in the element view?
I mean, in element view, you can still list or actually, order things by the name. So clicking on the top will just give you sorting based on the name. So this is one of the options. As I mentioned, you can just use the filtering combination with the sorting. So this way, I mean, you're probably not going to cover all the options, but at least you have options to list or limit amount of data being displayed by the filter options, and then you have various sorting options if you start clicking on your columns, which, just do the sorting based, on that column type.
Fantastic. Folks, any other questions?
Okay, I mean, meanwhile, I tried to list the listing, however, it wasn't really, available. However, if you have an element with components, there's a listing option. So essentially, we just list listings of that element.
Got it. All righty, let's see. We have another 8 minutes left till the top of the hour. Any other questions, folks on the WebEx? All righty, I'll go ahead and let you mull on that. There's just one more slide that we'll review for our presentation today in closing, and that's just to simply share that if you are looking to learn more about CA development environment for these systems, or in general our portfolio offering within the area of mainframe application development, I would recommend that you go ahead and visit our website, ca.com/mainframe-develop. And in particular, you'll find there actually a recent infographic that we published to really help clarify for our customers how to drive digital transformation through the lens of application development, and really specifically sort of three very simple but critical principles to help really transform your application development teams and organization to really maximize the value of mainframe code and data. No simple matter, actually, if you take a look at this rather interesting image here on the left, the way I call it, this is or name it, I call it the guru of who masters the whirlwinds of digital transformation, because really it can seem quite chaotic to manage, all these elements of automation, agility, security, and insight, and dealing with, pushing forward good ideas quickly to market at a good cost while keeping your customers happy, and at the same time be able to provide, everything you want for your team, be it support for Java or maybe for Git, better collaboration. There's really just so many intricacies. So I highly encourage that you take a look at this infographic. It just kind of sums it up fairly nicely for you. And again, you'll find that at ca.com/mainframe-develop. One last additional question. What is the URL to download the IDE? I don't think that is available at the moment, but I guess Dehan or Milan, if you could comment on what's the best way to really get a better feel for this. Dehan, are you still on the line?
I mean, probably the best would be we can, just follow up and just, I mean, essentially there is a defined community, not a community, the support connect page that really has a desk product in it. So I try to, communicate with Dan and just provided it to the attendees of this webinar.
Sounds good. What we'll do, we'll go ahead. For the person who addressed this posed this question, we'll go ahead and follow up with you following this webinar with some guidance on how we can connect on this matter. But sure. Thank you for that question. Folks, any other questions? Okay then. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Milan and Dehan, thank you both incredibly for delivering this fantastic presentation. Following this call, give it about a day. This will be made available on demand on CA Community, so you can be on the lookout for that if you wanted to revisit this again once more. Otherwise, my name is Marvin. Thank you all very much for being with us today, and I do hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.